Australia, full of beautiful cities, fit women, and the deadliest fuckers known to man. It is also home to Albert Park, the venue for the 2023 Australian Grand Prix. Now, because this Grand Prix is in Australia, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. because you cunts with funny accents wanted to hang off the bottom of the world like bats. And I know you guys have to do it the rest of the year, except from like Singapore and Japan, but I'm not you. I only care about me. I don't give a fuck if you have to wake up at 6 a.m. No, because you fuckers wanted to hang off the bottom of the world, now I have to pay, and that's bullshit. Every race should suit my exact schedule whenever I need it. You know, in fact, could we move them from Sundays? Because sometimes I'm doing shit on them days. Did I wake up at 6 a.m. this week? Yes. Do I regret it? No, because it was actually a shit show, chaotic, rage-inducing, confusing mess of a Grand Prix, which was excellent. So, heading into this race, the two Red Bull drivers were separated by a point, and then by an entire grid, after Sergio Perez decided it was a great idea to go straight on at turn 3 into the gravel, beaching himself and going out of Q1. This then meant that the second place on the front row was taken up by George Russell. Behind him was Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, so with this grid, are we about to see Verstappen turn in on Crikey Boy?
He just fully turned into me.
Are we about to see a repeat of 2007? No. The Wilderness Explorer launches himself up the inside of Verstappen, cleanly getting himself into P1, and then Ham Swiss takes advantage of Verstappen's early braking and launches himself up the inside into turn 3, squeezing Derpy right to the outside, legally. This was a perfectly fine overtake. Verstappen fans, relax. That's Max's signature move. You can't complain about it now. Then, Leclerc decides Stroll doesn't exist and tries to hit the apex with two cars on his inside. Fucks it into the gravel trap, causing the first safety car. This crash was completely on Leclerc. Surprising, I know, as it involved Stroll, but it was completely on him. So all of Leclerc's fangirls going to Stroll's comment sections need to relax. You're delusional. Just because he's fit doesn't mean he's not prone to accidents. It's just how life is. Anyway, the race resumes with the Wilderness Explorer leading Lewis and Verstappen. And as Russell starts to pull a bit of a lead, Albon, who was running in P6, which is fucking impressive in that Williams, loses it into the fast right at the top of the track, causing gravel to go everywhere. The safety car is brought out, half the grid pits to try to make it to the end on the hards, and then disaster for Russell. One lap later, the red flag is out. Everyone's allowed a free pit stop. He's gone from leading back to P7. But it does mean that it's Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso restart, and Hamilton keeps P1 and is ahead for the next few laps. Are we about to have our first fight for the lead in 2023? No! Lap 12, Max blitzes past Ham Salad in the third DRS zone before turn 9, pulls a huge gap on the rest of the field. But never mind, we all knew that was going to happen anyway. Doesn't matter because George is blitzing through the field and is up into P4, gaining on Fernando Alonso, who's gaining on Hamilton. Oh, we're about to see a three-way battle for the rest of the podium! No. Lap 18, Russell's arse sets on fire and he's out of the race. Doesn't matter, at least we're about to see Lewis and Alonso battle it out for the rest of the race. No. They keep a consistent 1.5 to 2 second gap to each other for the rest of the race, neither gaining or losing, and we settle in to watch Max dominate another Grand Prix. Until lap 53, where Kevin Magnussen fucks his rear right into the barrier coming out of turn 1 and 2, causing a safety car, which was then stepped up to a red flag, meaning we were about to have a grandstand 2-lap shoot-up finish. Did the red flag need to happen? No. Was this down purely for entertainment? Probably. Am I glad it happened? Yes. Everyone's a bit angry because of the issues it caused with safety and half the grid dying, but it was funny and it was great. It was a grandstand shootout. It's what we wanted at Abu Dhabi, but we got it here and it was chaos and I loved it. Going into the restart, it was a 4-team shootout. Going into the first corner, Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso and Sainz, and then ensued the glorious, glorious chaos. Carlos Sainz launches it up the inside, understeering into Fernando Alonso's car, sending him spinning out, causing a Spanish Civil War Part 2. Gasly forgets what his mirrors are and fucks him and Ocon out of the race. The American Mazepin plows into the back of De Vries like it's a porno. Stroll tries to send it up the inside of Sainz, locks up, fucking him into the gravel trap, and another red flag is brought out. So much chaos. So much destruction. No death, fair play, they decided to end the race under the safety car in the original order they restarted it, minus the morons who fucked it. This sent Gunther Steiner into a rage-fueled aneurysm as Hülkenberg was going to get on the podium after a Carlos Sainz penalty. Now that penalty, if the lap was stayed, if they finished the race behind the safety car for the rest of the lap, that's a penalty. But the lap got deleted, and it's a bit confusing because it's kind of like punishing someone for murder when they didn't die, they were only severely, no, that's just attempted murder, that's another crime. Anyway, moving on from that chaos, Carlos Sainz did get his 5-second penalty, meaning he finished outside of the points, meaning Yuki Tsunoda got his first points, which is incredible, and shout out to Rohan who correctly predicted Yuki 10th. He wins the Bean Off Prediction Award of this week. So the race finished for Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso. So what do we learn from all this? Just like Monaco, Hamilton's a liar, or he's being silenced by a racist group inside Mercedes. You know, it's not like they haven't supported a racist group before. Now that I've covered the race, let's get into the news.
And now we must do the news.
There was a bird on the track that didn't give a fuck. There's a clip of that there. Verstappen, Hamilton and Russell don't really know how to stand on a podium together. Alex Albon left a review of Albert Park Grand Prix circuit on Google Map because that's relevant. However, I feel after the race he's going to be retracting that quite soon. Alfa Romeo decided they were going to give up on the Grand Prix results because everyone was so fucking confused.
6 plus 1 equals 1 because that's the result they carry forwards, which means I could end up in final C, which C becomes before A. I'm just going to drive around as fast as I can.
So both of their drivers finished in P, ? Fernando Alonso looked like he pissed himself in the cool-down room when talking to Lewis Hamilton. Nico Hülkenberg managed to break down after the last lap, which is technically another red flag, which means there's 4, which is actually incredible, even though 3 was actually a record-breaking amount of times. Max Verstappen apparently had a lower engine setting during the race and still managed to build up a 10-second lead. Oh my god. You know what they're doing? They're sandbagging just so like the FIA can't punish them. Because realistically, if they gave it full beans, I reckon they could at least lap up to the Alpines minimum, and maybe the Ferraris depending on the strategy. So most of the time the Ferraris as well. Wild scenes from the supercar support race in Melbourne as one of the cars decided to combust. Really, you can see on screen, everyone's fine, but that's just nuts. And apparently it smelled really bad. I saw this video, my separated parents drag race for $10,000. I assume they're both going to bring PLP 50s for the custody drag race then. A fan in the ground got hit by a bit of debris after Kevin Magnussen's crash and had a little cut on his arm. He then died and is now being covered up by the FAA. Overtake of the month was won by Fernando Alonso for his move on Lewis Hamilton. Fucking deserved. One fan in the ground said he travelled over 11,600 kilometres just to see Leclerc DNF. Well, what the fuck did you expect? The new sprint weekend format has been agreed by the F1 teams, where it will be Friday, FP1 and quali for the race, then it will be qualifying for the sprint, and then the sprint, and then the race. Both qualies remain Q1, Q2, Q3. How many tyres are they putting? I don't like sprint races. Well, I do like them, but I think they do need to stay like a 4 or 5 would be good. I think 6 is just a tad too many. And of course this week hasn't disappointed in the crying of the Hamilton fans, as Verstappen was right on the edge of his grid box, sending them all into meltdown. It's perfectly legal. Even Toto Wolff came out and said it. Just shut up, go back to crying in the corner. Okay, you know, he came second, be happy with that. For fuck's sake, he was never going to win, alright? We knew that from the start of the weekend. He's been saying it all week. I mean, he was moaning about how shit their car was, managing to drag it to P2 though. Moving on. Daniel Ricciardo is eyeing up a future return to F1 in 2024, and he says he's hoping to return to a top team because he wants his mojo back, which is fair enough, but you kind of have to ask which team. Like, because I want him back, I 1,000,000% do, but where? I'm looking at the grid. I can see him replacing Sainz of Ferrari, Aston Martin. If Lawrence Stroll got some bollocks, I can see him replacing Lance. Not Alpine, they're happy in their wee baguette phase. No one else really though, so I don't think he'll be a top team, maybe a midfield team, but we'll see what happens in mid-season because that's where all the shit goes down. Moving on to the road now, and Lamborghini have announced the replacement for the Aventador. Here it is, the Lamborghini Revuelto. Revuelto? The Rev. I've got to learn to say that. I'm going to be fucking saying it for the next 10 years. Yes, the Rev. It does 1,000 brake horsepower, 0 to 60, 2.5 seconds, 3 electric motors, 9,250 RPM redline, 6.5 litre hybrid assisted V12. This thing's a fucking monster. It looks like a spaceship. Perfect. Moving away to slightly less perfection. Actually, no, a lot less perfection. The Ford Capri is apparently making a comeback. Well, I say making a comeback. No, what it's done is it's retired, ate a fuck ton of food, and come back as a fat, ugly blob that's so pointless and useless and disgusting looking. Everyone's just looking away, and it's not even close to what a fucking Ford Capri looks like. Lancia, who have been revived as a new EV company, have teased their new car, the Lancia Concept, and it looks like it could be an electric Stratos. Now look, I'm having my difficulties with these electric cars just because it's not the same driving experience at all. But if they can just make it sound like the Stratos, put some speakers in there or some shit, I'll accept it. The new Renault 5 has been announced, and you know what? For an electric hatchback, from some angles it actually looks alright. From other angles, it still just looks a bit funny. It's going to cost less than $25,000, which I think is pretty good for an electric car. In the terms of the market, not good in general. James May's gas, because the new Dacia Duster could be here in 2024, but I don't think anyone else really cares.
Good news!
Ford have announced an electric SUV called the Explorer, and says it's following in the footsteps of the Mustang Mach-E. And finally, Volkswagen have announced that the 2025 T-Roc will be their final combustion engine powered Volkswagen. Which is, it's sad, but I guess climate change and all of that shit has to change. And goodbye.